Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving deep into the anatomy of a modern digital heist. We're going to completely dismantle that old myth that only massive corporations with billions of dollars are the ones getting targeted by organized cybercriminals. The reality, well, the targets have totally shifted, the tactics have evolved dramatically, and honestly, your business might be sitting directly in the crosshairs right now. Today, we're unpacking an incredibly insightful report from WithPocket, an Australian insurance broker, to see exactly how these highly sophisticated attacks actually work. Okay, let's take a super quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the multi-million-dollar threat, then map out the anatomy of the attack, look at exactly who is being targeted, cover the ultimate defense strategy, and finally, we'll talk about your financial backstop.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the multi-million-dollar threat. Let's talk about the staggering financial reality of modern cybercrime.
So when we break down the most recent cybercrime data, something wild really stands out. Business email compromise, or BEC for short, along with general email compromise, makes up roughly 1/3 of all incidents affecting Australian businesses. Think about that. 15% result in direct hard financial loss, and another 19% involve a compromise without an immediate financial hit. That means 1 in 3 cyber incidents you hear about essentially boils down to someone's email being breached or weaponized against them. And the financial damage behind those reports? It is absolutely staggering. To put it into perspective, according to the Australian Signals Directorate, the average self-reported cost of cybercrime has risen to $56,600 just for small businesses. That's a 14% jump from the previous year. And if you're a medium-sized business, that number spikes to over $97,000. I mean, these aren't just abstract statistics floating around. These are devastating blows to cash flow that can literally force a business to close its doors for good.
Plus, the speed and volume of these attacks are just relentless. I really want you to let this sink in. One cybercrime report is made in Australia roughly every 6 minutes. Every 6 minutes. That adds up to over 84,700 reports in just a single year. Literally, by the time you finish watching this explainer, another business will have filed a report. It's a massive volume game for the criminals, but make no mistake, it is an incredibly targeted one.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of the Attack. This is where we break down how the digital heist actually goes down.
So what exactly is this threat we're talking about? Business email compromise, which is also commonly known over in the insurance world as social engineering fraud, isn't about brute forcing some highly secure, complex firewall. No, it is a highly targeted fraud that exploits human trust and urgency. Attackers trick your business into transferring money or handing over sensitive data. Simply put, they don't hack your bank, they hack your people.
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding this 4-stage blueprint they use. Step 1 is reconnaissance. They literally research your business on LinkedIn, they figure out your payment cycles, and they find out exactly who your key suppliers are. Step 2 is impersonation or compromise. They'll either spin up a fake email address that looks practically identical to a trusted supplier, or worse, they secretly take over a real email account. Step 3 is the ask. A completely normal-sounding request arrives, like say an updated bank account for an overdue invoice. Finally, Step 4 is execution. Under a massive amount of manufactured time pressure, someone on your team makes the transfer totally thinking they're just doing their normal job.
We really have to contrast the old days of obvious, badly worded phishing with what we're facing today. Actually, scratch that. It's not even comparable anymore. Forget the typos and the clunky "Dear Sir" or "Madam" greetings. Today, an estimated 40% of BEC emails are flawlessly AI-generated. They use perfect grammar, they reference real invoice numbers they found during that reconnaissance phase, and they leverage true context. It is incredibly difficult to spot a fake just by glancing at the text.
Now I know what you might be thinking. Hey, my IT team set up multi-factor authentication, so my email is totally safe, right? But you really have to ask yourself, how are criminals still getting into these accounts to launch these attacks in the first place?
Well, the terrifying answer is session hijacking. Attackers don't always need to guess your password or even trick you into handing over your MFA code. If someone clicks a malicious link, these criminals can steal your active session token. It's literally like someone swiping your VIP wristband right off your arm after you've already shown your ID to the bouncer at the door. Once they have that token, they bypass your MFA entirely. They are in, with full access to quietly monitor your emails and intercept your invoices.
Which brings us to Section 3, who is targeted? Let's talk about why your business is the perfect mark. The hard truth we need to face is that small businesses are heavily represented in these cybercrime stats. And why is that?
It's because small businesses often have just one or two people handling the finances, and those folks have the authority to act fast. Plus, your relationships with suppliers and clients are probably pretty informal, right? Meaning a sudden email asking for a quick favor or a sudden change in payment details might not immediately set off the alarm bells the way it would in some massive bureaucratic enterprise. That agility is great for business, but it makes you the ideal mark. Just take a look at the different types of businesses at risk here. Whether you're in trades and construction dealing with a revolving door of subcontractor invoices, or you're in real estate dealing with massive settlement amounts under extreme time pressure, your specific workflow is exactly what makes you vulnerable. Hospitality and retail are prime targets too, simply because attackers can monitor and hijack those highly predictable stock order patterns. And honestly, even just using cloud accounting software makes you a target, because a single compromised login exposes your entire supplier payment history. They get the whole shebang.
All right, Section 4, the ultimate defense strategy. How do we foil the plot before the vault is actually breached? So there are several technical and procedural controls you absolutely unequivocally need. Multi-factor authentication is just foundational. You also need to implement dual approval for large transfers, so no single person can wire a massive chunk of money on their own. Conduct ongoing staff training, so your team actually knows what modern BEC looks like. And definitely get your IT team to configure email sender verification and advanced session token protections. But listen, while these technical controls are essential layers of security, they aren't completely foolproof on their own against a really highly motivated social engineer. And that brings us to the ultimate silver bullet. In a world full of flawless AI-generated text and sneaky session token hijacking, the single most effective defense is a shockingly simple, wonderfully low-tech solution, and it stops the vast majority of these attacks absolutely cold. Here is the crucial, non-negotiable rule you need to implement today. Any request to change a bank account or payment details must trigger a verbal phone call. End of story. And, this is the most important part, you never, ever call the number listed in that suspicious email. You literally just pick up the phone and dial the known number you already have on file for that supplier. By taking the verification out of that compromised email environment and moving it to a real-time phone call, you completely close off the single most common way these heists actually succeed.
Finally, Section 5, the financial backstop. Because what do you do if the worst actually happens?
Speed is of the absolute essence here. The literal second you realize funds have gone to a fraudulent account, you must instantly contact your bank and request a transfer recall. If the funds haven't cleared the receiving account yet, you just might save it. Next, report the incident to Report Cyber. Notify your cyber insurer immediately, and whatever you do, preserve the evidence. Don't start panic deleting emails. Finally, engage an incident response specialist to figure out if the attacker is still quietly lurking in your system. Because the harsh reality is, once those funds fully hit a criminal's account and are dispersed, recovering them is incredibly rare.
Which leads us to a massive reality check regarding your safety net. You might be paying good money for a comprehensive cyber insurance policy, but you really have to ask, does it actually cover business email compromise the way you think it does?
Please do not just assume you are fully covered. Your $500,000 cyber policy might not actually give you $500,000 of coverage for this specific crime. You have to check if social engineering fraud is explicitly included. Look really closely at the sublimit. Your massive policy might only have a tiny, strict $50,000 sublimit specifically for BEC. Also, are there preconditions? Because some policies will completely void your payout if you didn't have MFA enabled across your entire company at the time of the attack. You absolutely need to sit down and review these specific extensions with your insurance broker right now. Seriously, do not wait until after 50 grand has been wired to a fraudster to finally read the fine print of your policy. Cyber insurance is an amazing final financial backstop, but it only works if it's set up correctly for your actual real-world risk profile. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to take back to your team. Really think about your current workflows for a second. If your absolute biggest supplier emailed your finance team right now with a seemingly urgent request to change their bank details, would your team pause and pick up the phone to call them, or would they just click pay to get it off their busy desk? Implement that verbal verification rule today. Train your staff to take that crucial pause, and don't let your hard-earned revenue fund the next multi-million-dollar digital heist. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and stay secure out there.